Hello and welcome to this edition of SFG Top Performance Feed and Grain Podcast. Winter finally found us. After a tremendous December of good weather, we came into January and hey, we got some below zero temperatures, more normal weather for the last week. And however, already next week it looks to moderate. We'll be back in the 40s. So not all bad. The grain markets have been continuing to be volatile. The weather in South America has been a driver now for the last 6 weeks probably. Still dry areas, some very dry areas, and surprisingly some very wet areas to the northern side of Brazil that's now causing mold issues and some other things with the growing crop. When you think of Brazil, you can't really compare it to the United States because it's huge. 5,000 some miles from the north to the south of that country. So that's more distance than from the east coast to the west coast of the U.S. And so there's a lot of variability in the weather and the soils and everything down there. But the latest analysts, you might say, have lowered the expected bean production by about 400 million bushel down in Brazil and Argentina. And that's a tremendously big number. That's our carryout, our expected carryout for next year. So if that does happen, this bean market could stay somewhat on the better side, surprising people. If you look back to November 1, just for reference, and this is local prices, we were at $5.55 on corn, $12 on beans. Come forward to today, January 6th, we were $5.77 yesterday for corn, $13.37 for beans. So not a huge thing on corn, 22-cent bump, but $1.37 on the beans. So the guys that stored their beans through harvest have made a good return at this point, and it just depends on how things go forward. Some of the other markets or things that are affecting the markets are ethanol and bean oil are both hot commodities. So that's helping the domestic demand in this country. We're processing a lot of bushels of both. And in return, we got to get rid of the bean meal. And we come back to the fertilizer prices, and that's actually been a benefit to bean meal prices because suddenly all natural protein is cheaper than urea in most of these feed rations, and the guys will talk about that possibly coming up. But that's creating more demand for bean meal, so that's helping getting rid of that. Corn basis levels continue to be strong for this time of year. Again, it's the domestic demand. Exports are lagging a little bit yet, although we've had some more export news this morning, both corn and beans. So hopefully that'll continue to support us. New crop corn prices are dragging in my mind. We're in that local area. We're in the $5 range, and that's not saying it won't be above your break even, but it's going to be right in there this year with the high cost of inputs. So it appears to me that we're going to need to buy some acres come spring. So I'm still waiting for that to happen in the corn market. Meanwhile, beans, new crop beans are in the $12.30 range locally for October. Not a bad place to maybe start some sales. I know it gets pretty tough when you're looking at the old crop at $13.30 or $14 and taking $1 inverse or more to book some new crop beans. But historically, that's a good price. There's just not a lot of years you can sell $12.30 to $12.50 beans this time of year for fall delivery. So some things to look at and as we go forward. At this time, I'm going to turn over to the feed division. We've got Scott Goetz with us, and he's going to introduce our new salesman, and they'll take over from here.
Right. Thanks, Mark. And you are right on the soybean meal. I've been using a lot more soybean meal in rations just because pure protein, it's the cheapest thing we got. So a lot of you guys out there that's been using other stuff, you might keep that in mind and check out our soybean prices. Well, I hope everybody's keeping their livestock healthy and happy and their water flowing. When winter came, it hit all at once. So now is the time to be keeping a close eye on our cows. They need some extra calories to get through weather like this. Make sure they have access to fresh, clean water at all times. If you still got some calves in the lot, make sure they're staying healthy. It's easier to treat sickness when you catch it early. VFDs are easy and cheap compared to sick calves. Most of the times you can call your vet in the morning and be treating calves by afternoon. Make sure you have windbreaks so everything can get out of the wind. Cattle are amazing. They can survive some pretty nasty conditions. We just have to give them a chance. If we do that, they will come out on good shape. So at our last podcast, Kent said goodbye to us. In this podcast, we're going to say hello to a new face. Mike King is our new feed salesman for the southern area. So I guess I'm going to let him talk a little bit about himself. So welcome, Mike.
Okay, thank you for that. I wanted to say good morning to everyone, and I wanted to introduce myself, Mike King. I was born and raised on a livestock farm in central Iowa by Hubbard, Iowa. And I've been working with producers for over 30 years as far as cattle, hogs, and dairy. Hogs and cattle are my first love because the dairy industry's kind of took another direction. But the main thing I wanted to introduce myself about is that you can buy feed anywhere. But what I want to get across to everyone is if you're a customer, I want to meet you all and I want to learn your operation. I want to help you with feed programs, nutrition programs, and health programs. To me, it's building a partnership between me as your feed supplier and you as a farmer. And if we can work together as a partner, we can accomplish more things. For those of you that listen to this and you aren't doing business with Smiths, we would entertain the opportunity to have the opportunity to meet you and discuss. There's a lot of new technology from both Hubbard and Kent for the cattle industry, whether it's cows, calves, or feedlot, that are implemented in mineral and protein and balancer programs. So we would like that opportunity to at least visit with you if you so desire. So I just look forward to working with you. And again, the main emphasis I want to put across to you is that I want to build a partnership with you. I want to learn your operation. I want to learn what your goals are so I can help you. And feed just happens to be something that you have to put in your operation for the animals. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity. Hopefully we can work together. My cell phone number is 641-218-4232, and I'd entertain any calls and look forward to meeting with each and every one of you. Thank you.
And for those of you that had Kent's number in your phone, that is Kent's old number, so you can just change his name to
Right.
Mike King, and you can call Mike. That's about all we got for this side, Mark.
Well, that's great. And welcome, Mike. In the few short days he's been here, I've come to know him as he's an upfront guy. And I think honesty is big in this business, and I think Mike's as honest as they come. The thing I like, he don't want a fancy office. He wants a vehicle that he can go out and visit the customers and come onto your landscape and talk to you and see your environments. And I think that's highly important in the feed sales business. So we look forward to working with him and in turn working with you. I'll remind you that you can always check in on our website at sfgiowa.com to catch the latest grain markets, the local bids. There's also blogs by the feed, grain, and agronomy departments that are updated every week. We can try to keep fresh information on there. So with that, we'll call this to a close, and thank you for watching.